guys, it's Emily, and today I'm here to bring you my March Mystery Madness wrap-up. I read 6 books for March Mystery Madness. I read 1 in February because I got really excited once I posted my TBR, and then I read the other 5 in March. So some of them I've already talked about, but let's get into the ones that I haven't done. So you might remember that Sarah from the Bookish Knitter made us a card, so here's the card, and we had 9 prompts to do. So I completed 6 of the prompts, and so that left 3 that I didn't get to, but that's okay. I'm not worried about filling out my board. The first prompt on the board is single, and for that one I read Tangerine by Christine Mangan. This is a thriller that is following 2 women, Lucy and Alice, and it's a dual narrative perspective. Each woman narrates every other chapter. And Alice and Lucy were college roommates, and they were best friends all throughout their college life, but then something happened in their senior year that made them stop being friends. And it's a few years later, and Alice is actually living in Tangier, which is in Africa. And one day Lucy shows up at her house, and this is a complete surprise to her. She hasn't seen or spoken to Lucy since this event that caused their friendship to break up. And so Lucy moves into Alice's house, and they start reconnecting, and then you start to see that some things are very wrong with Alice and Lucy's relationship, and particularly you start seeing that Lucy is not what she seems to be. And so as the book goes on, you gradually start learning about the events that caused their friendship to break up in the first place, and you learn some pretty terrible things over the course of the novel. And the tension is heightened because Alice's husband, John, actually goes missing, and so you don't know where he went, you don't know what's happened to him, and so we see how that evolves over the story as well. This was interesting. I did find it, I wasn't like that into it at first, and then it sort of grew on me over the course of the novel, and I ended up really thinking it was quite a unique story. However, I don't know if you would think it was as unique if you read a lot of thrillers, because it seemed like, and also it wasn't really like a mystery that you had to guess. I mean, you knew pretty early on what was going on with the women's relationship and who was at fault for what. So it's not a thriller in the sense of like you're trying to figure out what's happening. It's just a thriller because of all the crazy, weird stuff that's going on. The next prompt was number, and for this one I was going to read The Eighth Detective by Alexis. Pavesi, and unfortunately this is one of the ones I didn't get to, and it was because it never came back from the library. So my library extended all of the due dates in late February because of the big winter storm they had, and we had down here in Texas, and so all of the books that were checked out at the time of the winter storm were extended to March 31st, and so a lot of books didn't come back in time, including this one. So hopefully I'll get to it at some other time. For person, I read The Silent Patient by Michaelides. I don't know, I can't ever say that. Michaelides. And this is the book I read for my work book club this month. This was a really interesting book. Okay, I'm going to say, I know everybody's like read this already, but I thought the twist in here was like crazy, and it made me want to reread the book like right away. Of course, I probably won't get to it because I say that about a lot of the mysteries that I read, and I was actually shocked because a lot of the ladies in the book club didn't like this book, and they thought the twist was like cheap, or like you didn't have any opportunity to figure out the twist. But as I talked about earlier this month, I never try to figure out the mystery when I'm reading mysteries, so, I never try to figure out who done it when I'm reading mysteries, so it didn't bother me at all that you didn't have any opportunity to figure out the twist. But yeah, so this is about a guy named Theo. He is a psychotherapist, and he gets a job at a local mental institution caring for a patient named Alicia. And Alicia is a famous artist who murdered her husband, and since murdering him has not spoken at all. And Theo has been very interested in this case, and he is determined to make Alicia speak again, and he also is he wants to heal her and get her back into normal society. And so we see their relationship and how it changes and grows throughout the course of the book. We get flashbacks and we get to see parts of Alicia's diary, and we learn what happened the night her husband was murdered. And we also see a lot about Theo's backstory and also some of his personal life, because his wife is having an affair, and we see how that affects him. And it's a very interesting thriller. I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend it. But I guess I wouldn't recommend it if you're somebody who really likes to know who done it and like figure it out. Because, like I said, a lot of the ladies who read at book club, who read mysteries to figure it out, were disappointed in this book. But yeah, I really liked it. The next prompt was place, and for this one I read Saint X by Alexis Schaitkin, and I already talked about that in my last recent read, so I'll link that up in the cards in case you're interested. The next prompt was weather, and for that I was going to read The Dry by Jane Harper, but again, it didn't come back in time, so I didn't get to it. But I really want to get to it, so I'm hoping I can get it for Cloak and Dagger Christmas, if not before. The next prompt was color, and for this one I read Bluebird by Attica Locke. And this is the last book that I finished for March Mystery Madness. I actually finished it last night, so I was really excited. And this is about a Texas Ranger named Darren Matthews, and he's actually on suspension when we first meet him because of a case that he was involved with that is being investigated by the feds and the authorities. So he's on suspension, but a friend of his that's in the FBI calls him and tells him about 2 murders that took place in the small town of Locke, Texas, which is in East Texas. It's a fictional town, I think, but it's in East Texas. And so there were 2 murders: a black man who was a lawyer from Chicago named Michael, and then a white woman who was a local woman who worked as a waitress at the local ice house named Misty. And they think that the 2 deaths are connected, but they aren't sure how, and they don't have a killer. And so Darren goes to investigate, and he ends up at the local cafe that's run by a woman named Geneva, and Geneva kind of knows what's going on in the town at least in terms of the black population. And so he's interviewing her, and he finds out a lot about her history. He learns about her across the road neighbor, who is a white man named Wally Jefferson, who basically owns the town. And we see Wally and Geneva's relationship. We learn that they have a connection, although we don't learn what that connection is until pretty far into the book. And then we also, of course, learn more about Michael. Michael's wife, Randy, comes to town to learn more about her husband's murder, and we see her and Darren strike up a relationship because they are both interested in solving this case. And we also see a lot of Darren's backstory, his relationship with his mother, his relationships with 2 of his uncles, and we end up seeing a lot about the racial tensions in the town of Locke, and we see how those are at stake in terms of this mystery and the things that Darren has to go through while solving this mystery. This was a really good mystery. I would definitely recommend this. The Texas vibes were great. There's a lot of references to blues music because one of the main characters is a musician, and we just learned so much about Texas history, the racial tensions in East Texas, and in small towns in Texas as well. And yeah, I really recommend this, and I'm definitely looking forward to checking out the rest of the series. The next prompt was time, and for this one, I read The Long Call by Cleeves, and this was another one that I talked about in my last recent reads video. The next prompt was space, and I was going to read The Bright Lands by Fram, and again, it didn't come back in time from the library, and I really hope it comes back. I'm hoping it's not lost forever, because I really want to read it, and I've got to get to it this year for sure. Cloak and Dagger Christmas, if not before, because I've been desperate to read this book. I mean, I intentionally saved it for March Mystery Madness, and then I didn't even get to it. But hopefully I'll get it back one of these days pretty soon. The last prompt was the bonus prompt, which is read a book that you picked solely based on the title. And for this one, I read Bewitched, Bothered, and Biscotti by Bailey Cates, and this is the 3rd book in the Magical Bakery series, and I also talked about this one during my last recent reads. So that's everything I read for March Mystery Madness. I hope everybody else had a great March Mystery Madness. I think we did We had so much fun this year. The Discord group was amazing. We had so much talking on there, and I know some people are planning to use that for further mystery talking throughout the year. We had some great live shows. I loved Janelle's live shows, and then I also what else did I do? I did my 2 mystery history videos. They both seemed to be well received, so that was great. And I just had a great time this year during March Mystery Madness. I always enjoy it so much. I was going to say, okay, so the thumbnail of this video is not going to match because I took it a long time ago before I took some of those books back to the library. And on the thumbnail, you're going to see The Bachelor's Girl's Guide to Murder by Rachel McMillan, which was Sarah's buddy read, and I didn't get to it. I checked it out, and then I didn't get to it, but I'm planning to read it sometime, and I really want to, so that's why it's in the thumbnail, in case you're interested, and also, in case you're wondering why I'm wearing a different outfit. But yeah, so I had a really great time for March Mystery Madness. Thanks to everybody that participated, and I'll look forward to next year. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!